5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. This case concerns a dispute between the parties related to a commercial transaction involving the supply of goods. The complainant alleges that the defendant failed to deliver the goods in accordance with the terms of the contract, leading to a significant loss of business for the complainant. The complainant claims that the defendant not only delayed the delivery but also provided substandard goods that were not in conformity with the specifications agreed upon in the contract. The plaintiff contends that after the contract was signed and the initial payment was made, the defendant failed to honor the delivery timelines. The delay caused operational disruptions in the complainant's business, resulting in substantial financial losses. Moreover, when the goods were finally delivered, they did not meet the quality standards as agreed upon, thereby exacerbating the complainant's damages. The plaintiff made several attempts to resolve the matter amicably through correspondence and phone calls. Despite these efforts, the defendant did not take any corrective actions. In fact, the defendant's response to the complaints was dismissive, stating that they were not responsible for the delays and offering no remedy for the substandard goods. Consequently, the plaintiff was left with no option but to initiate legal proceedings. The complaint filed before the learned trial court sought a decree for damages for the breach of contract, along with the costs incurred due to the delivery delays and poor quality goods. The plaintiff also sought the return of the money paid for the goods that were not delivered as per the contractual terms. The defendant, in response, denied all allegations and claimed that the delay was caused due to circumstances beyond their control, such as supply chain issues. The defendant further argued that the goods were supplied in accordance with the contract and any minor discrepancies in quality were negligible and did not justify the claims made by the plaintiff. After considering the arguments and evidence presented by both sides, the trial court dismissed the plaintiff's complaint, holding that the delay in delivery was justified and that the quality issues raised were trivial and not material enough to warrant compensation. The court also concluded that there was insufficient evidence to establish that the plaintiff had suffered significant losses due to the defendant's actions. Aggrieved by the judgment of the trial court, the plaintiff has now approached this honorable court in appeal. The appellant submits that the trial court erred in law and fact in dismissing the complaint. It is argued that the lower court failed to consider the extensive documentary evidence, including email correspondence, shipping invoices, and expert testimony, all of which clearly show that the defendant had breached the contract. Moreover, the appellant contends that the trial court's findings on the issue of damages were perverse, as the defendant had not offered any substantiated proof to refute the loss suffered by the plaintiff. It is further submitted that the trial court did not take into account the fact that the delay in delivery caused significant operational losses, as the plaintiff was forced to halt business activities for a period, which resulted in lost revenue and goodwill. The appellant has provided financial records showing that the losses were directly attributable to the defendant's failure to perform under the contract. Additionally, the quality of the goods provided by the defendant was below the standards agreed upon, and the plaintiff was forced to dispose of the goods at a loss. In its defense, the respondent argues that the lower court's judgment is correct and should be upheld. It is submitted that the delay was a result of unforeseen circumstances that were beyond the control of the defendant. The respondent also asserts that the goods were delivered in compliance with the contract and any minor defects were rectified as soon as they were brought to the defendant's attention. The respondent further argues that the financial loss claimed by the plaintiff is exaggerated and speculative. Upon hearing the arguments and reviewing the record, this court finds that the appeal has merit. It is evident that the trial court did not adequately address the evidence produced by the plaintiff regarding the breach of contract and the financial loss incurred. The documentary evidence, including communication between the parties and invoices, clearly establishes that the goods were not delivered on time and were of inferior quality. The defendant's defense of force majeure or unforeseen circumstances lacks merit in this case. The delay was not caused by any exceptional or unforeseen event, but was a result of the defendant's failure to manage its business operations properly. Furthermore, the defendant's response to the complaint and the lack of a satisfactory explanation for the delay and substandard goods casts doubt on the credibility of their defense. This court is of the opinion that the appellant is entitled to compensation for the loss suffered as a result of the defendant's breach of contract. The financial records submitted by the appellant demonstrate a direct correlation between the delay in delivery and the operational loss suffered. The evidence on record further supports the contention that the defendant failed to provide goods in accordance with the contractual specifications. In light of the above, the appeal is allowed, and the judgment of the trial court is set aside. The matter is remanded to the trial court for fresh adjudication on the issue of damages. The trial court is directed to calculate the compensation to be awarded to the plaintiff, taking into account the actual financial losses sustained by the plaintiff due to the defendant's breach. The trial court is further directed to ensure that the damages awarded are adequate and just based on the material evidence presented. The respondent is also directed to pay the costs incurred by the appellant in pursuing the appeal. In view of the facts of the case, this court holds that the defendant's conduct was not in accordance with the standards of good business practice, and the appellant is entitled to a remedy under the law. Stop.